Hello everybody, welcome to another reaction video here on Snyder's Inc. And today, I gotta do a whole bunch of videos because I am getting dental surgery done on Monday, and for that probably week, I won't want to really do much recording. That might change, but sorry, it's off my teeth. As far as I know, that won't be the plan. So I'll kind of be going a whole week. I probably won't end up recording really any reaction videos. So right at this moment, my thing is just to record as many as I can for that week, for this week coming up. So you'll be seeing this today, which is the what day is it? Thursday. You'll be seeing Thursday. So I will be recording a lot in the last couple days, as many videos as I can. This will be on Thursday though, and we got a reaction video here, and the video is Ghost Attack Caught on Camera, the San Pedro Haunting. Is from Mr Ballen. We all know Mr Ballen. He is the boy. He is the goat of telling things, doing real well for himself at 4.59 million subscribers. So, are you all ready for this? Because I'm ready. Let's go.
What's going on, guys? Mr. Ballen here. Earlier, I had been saying you probably know me from TikTok, but the reality is the majority of people that are watching this video or who have watched my other videos are actually just from YouTube, which is really cool to feel like YouTube is promoting some of my videos. I think I'm incredibly lucky to have that be happening. I'm incredibly lucky to have this page growing as quickly as it is, and I'm incredibly lucky to have you paying attention, even if it's just for a few minutes. So thank you for tuning in. A little bit about me. I am a former Navy SEAL. I got medically retired at the end of 2017. I initially started making content that was pretty much exclusively about being a Navy SEAL and my experiences. But then when I got on TikTok at the end of 2019, early 2020, I kind of just completely pivoted and started sharing stories that I was just fundamentally interested in. Scary stories, true crime, mysteries, that type of content, purely because I enjoy it. I was very fortunate that it took off on TikTok, and here I am on YouTube, kind of trying to do the same thing, sharing content about, darker but really interesting, compelling stories. It's just something I'm passionate about, and I'm really happy that I'm starting to grow a platform that is based on that, because I would love to do this indefinitely. So today I'm going to be covering a very famous haunting. But before I get into any details about it, I want to be upfront with the people watching this video. This video and my channel in general are not designed to be, an attempt at convincing people that the paranormal is real or that ghosts are real. But rather, I want to cover stories that are just plain interesting. And I like covering things that are of the darker variety. True crime, certainly unsolved mysteries falls into that. I love that genre, the kind of dark, mysterious genre.
I kind of like the same thing. That's kind of what the thing has been ghost. I've done true crime stuff with that chapter, which I might get more into. So yeah, that's kind of my thing too. That's why I like watching Mr. Ballen.
And so this story really interests me because there's lots of photo evidence. There's multiple witnesses that kind of corroborate not necessarily that ghosts are real, but rather that the events that led to people speculating it was a haunting. There are people that corroborate the details, meaning the story is cohesive, that the actors in the story basically corroborate one another. And so it leads us down a path to getting to the end of the story, and we're like, well, what the hell happened? Because if it's not a haunting, what was it? Because a bunch of things happened that are pretty difficult to explain. So the too long didn't read version of this story is you have a single mom who moves into a home with her kids, and she starts hearing noises in the walls, in the attic. She can't make sense of it. She has friends and, the babysitter that are at the house that also hear it. Her ex-husband starts to experience it. You have all these people experiencing these weird phenomena happening in the house. And then, through a weird series of events that involves priests, landlords, and child protective services, they have a paranormal investigator come over with camera equipment and all that. They come in the house and they end up documenting quite a bit of startling imagery and footage that only lends credibility to the fact that this actually might be a real haunting.
Okay.
So that's the story in a nutshell. Let's dive in. In 1989, a 23-year-old woman named Jackie Hernandez has just broken up with her husband, Al. It was an amicable separation. They just weren't on good terms. They decided it's time to get a divorce, but we will, happily co-parent our 2 kids together. So it's an amicable breakup. Jackie moves into a small, modest home in San Pedro, California, with the kids. And she's working a ton. She's a student at night. She's working multiple jobs. It's a very hard, stressful time, but she's doing her best to support her family and kind of land on her feet.
Good on her for that. Doing all of our work just to because she wants to support her family as best she can. Can't do nothing but applaud that.
So about a month after living in this house, Jackie comes home from a long day at school and work, and she sits down, the kids are asleep, and she puts on the TV. And she's just trying to decompress. And as she's sitting there, she starts to hear what sounds like little pebbles falling down inside of the walls. So she mutes the TV and she's listening, and it's just periodically little pebbles are falling down the wall. She goes up and she's listening, or with her ear against the wall, and she's thinking to herself, there's got to be, a mouse or some critter up in my attic, unfortunately, that's kicking some pebbles into a gap in the wall. And as she's listening, she thinks she hears what sounds like footsteps in the attic. And so it startles her. Now she's really paying close attention to the attic. She doesn't hear it again. This is the first time she's heard anything like this, so she kind of did the very human sort of rationalizing what she had just heard and assumed she was just hearing things in the attic. It's just some critter. I'll deal with it later. So a couple of days later, Jackie has her friend Susan over to just hang out with her at her house. The kids are asleep and they're relaxing, talking, sitting on the couch. And as they're sitting there, they hear a loud bang in the kitchen. It sounded like something had fallen. And so, at this point, Jackie had mentioned to Susan this weird, hey, I think I got an animal up in the attic because I heard some rocks falling through the walls. But the funny thing is I could have sworn I heard footsteps up there, but probably just my mind playing tricks on me. So Susan is keyed in that maybe there's a little bit of weirdness happening in the house. So when they hear this sound in the kitchen, it's like they both instantly go to, okay, what's happening here? Is this more to do with the footsteps in the attic, or is there a rational explanation? So they're on guard. They walk into the kitchen.
Get 3 times the cleaning power with Mr. Clean Freak.
King of the town. Yeah, I've been there.
And they find a picture that was hanging on the wall that had fallen, which honestly that's not a cause for a ghost is in the house.
Yeah, I wouldn't think a ghost was in the house after hearing that. The footsteps, I don't know how I would not be rationalizing them. I immediately thought I'd be going to, there's something in this house and I want to know what it is. Even my brain, instead of going, I need to get out of here, which you probably should, my brain would want to know what's in the house though.
But it was held up by a couple of nails. And the nails were removed from the picture frame and were standing on their head, point up, next to the image. Next to the picture.
Huh?
So imagine if a picture falls, are all the nails going to come out and land perfectly on their head right next to it?
No, they're not.
No, it's almost impossible. But sure enough, that happened. So Susan and Jackie are staring at the picture, they're staring at the nails, and they have no idea what to make of it. Susan was a little bit more eager to connect it to these footsteps in the attic, but she also did not want to, frighten her friend because she knows she's living alone. And so they kind of talked a little bit about it, and maybe they both wanted to have that discussion about what's happening in the house, but they both kind of decided, without saying anything, that we're going to kind of avoid this topic. And so they put the picture away.
I can believe that, especially if the girl knows that the other is living, like, they both know they're kind of living alone. So I can see them wanting to protect each other by not bringing up the topic of a ghost, because you ain't gonna want to live in no house, no damn ghost. Or have something wrong with your house, someone in your house. So I can see why you'd, like, avoid that topic.
Nails away. Susan actually decides to just leave because she's a little bit freaked out, and so she's gone. The next night, Susan actually brings over a new babysitter. It's this 16-year-old girl named Tina. And so I guess, Jackie wanted a little bit of time to leave the house. She thought that she was kind of losing her mind with all the stress of work and school. And so Tina comes over. Jackie had not told Tina anything about what was going on in the house. It was just like, hey, take care of the kids. I'll see you in a little bit. She's sitting on the couch. Tina.
Why would you not tell the babysitter, hey, we got some weird things going on in the house, just ignore, even just say just ignore it if you hear it, but, like, don't just not tell them.
The babysitter, and she just like, you know what, I'm gonna go just check on the kids. I got a weird feeling to make sure they're okay in their bedrooms. And as soon as she goes to push the door opens, which she remembers in an interview saying it was strange that before it actually made contact with the door swung open. But, I didn't think anything of it. I walked in, the sun is just fine. So I walked back out and I shut the door. But as soon as I shut it, I turned around and it was starting to open again. And she describes thinking that, I guess, the house must be, not level or something. Jackie comes home and Tina tells her about the door. And I think that Tina on some level was hoping that Jackie, being the adult, would, hear what she was saying and have just a totally rational explanation for what was going on. The door always does that, something like that. But Tina was shocked when she told her this, and Jackie reacted visibly like she was concerned. And Tina's like keying in on it, and she was like, do you know why this could happen? Why the door would be kind of opening on its own?
Yeah, because the girl's probably just like, is there a ghost in here? Do I need to leave? Shut up, phone. You're probably thinking, do I need to leave? What is going on? Tell me.
And Jackie just said, honestly, there's been a couple of weird things that have happened. And so they talked about it a little bit, but ultimately, they both just decided, you know what? I think that we're connecting things that don't need to be connected. It's just a couple of strange occurrences. So Tina leaves, Jackie goes to bed, and they don't think about it. So the next day, Jackie has Tina come back over because she needs some more help with the kids. And so as they're standing in the kitchen, Jackie's describing to Tina what she needs to do that night, when to feed the kids, what time to put them to bed. Tina just kind of stops paying attention to Jackie and looks up at the corner of the kitchen. And so in the back corner of the kitchen, Tina's looking and she says, did you put in a new light in the corner of your kitchen? And Jackie looks too, and she's like, whoa, what is that? And it looks like there's this like light bulb, kind of a weird looking light bulb in the corner of the kitchen on the ceiling, which there wasn't a light bulb over there, and Jackie says as much, and they're looking at it, and then it begins to move. Not towards them, it was like just kind of moving around, like an orb of light that was kind of moving around. And now, had Jackie and Tina relayed that particular experience, almost everybody, or virtually everyone, would be like, yeah, okay, you saw a floating light in your kitchen. Well, they took a picture of it because it didn't go away. So
this is the original photo. So this is what they saw in the kitchen. I don't know how to describe this. I have no, unless this is an actual light that they just have. I don't know how to describe it because it's like breaking apart in place. I have no explanation for this.
They went and got a camera and they took this picture. And so you can see there's like this blob of light, that was in their kitchen. Between the pebbles in the wall, the footsteps in the attic, the falling picture with the nails standing on their head, with, Tina saying the door wouldn't shut, and now this orb of light. Now, Jackie has officially kind of gone from, I'm going to play this rational and not worry about it, to, I have no idea what's wrong and I can't explain this. I can't tell people this without them thinking I'm crazy, with the exception of Susan and Tina, because her kids were too young to know what was going on. there's no one that she felt comfortable sharing her anxieties and fear about what was happening, because how do you, a skeptical, rational person, go to for example, the police and say, hey, there's nothing in my attic, but I believe there's someone walking around my attic and kicking pebbles into my walls and knocking pictures off the wall and taking the nails out, standing them on the head. They're going to say that, well, are you doing this? Are your kids doing this? And so the only person that Jackie finally felt comfortable telling was her ex-husband, because they were still amicable. She has Al come over and she finally says to him, I have a lot of weird things happening. She showed him the picture of the lights in the kitchen. She describes everything that happened in the house. And Al would say that in a way he thought that this was just kind of an act to maybe draw attention to the fact that she was lonely and that she missed him. He wasn't sure if that's what it was, but he definitely was not ready to believe in anything she was saying. He just kind of felt bad for the position she was in. So he listens and he says, look, kind of almost playing along with her, he's like, let's just call it out. If there's something happening in your house, we should call it out. And so he stands up and she's saying, no, don't do that, don't do that. And he goes, whoever's here, show yourself. And they're looking around, nothing. And I think in a way, Jackie was disappointed that there wasn't, footsteps in the attic right then and there, but there was nothing. And so Al kind of does there's nothing to worry about here, just stop worrying about it. And so he leaves.
Al, you're pretty fucking useless. What type of thought process do you have, my friend? You literally just go, oh, well, see? You didn't tell him when I called him out. That's it. Nothing there. Dumbass.
And, Jackie's disappointed but not shocked. And she goes to put something away in the closet. This is immediately after he's left. And she opens this closet, and inside the closet, on every wall, inside the closet, on the back of the door, was written Al. A in red and the L in blue. The door was written.
Oh my god. This is an actual photo, but damn. Imagine seeing that after the guy named Al has left.
Written Al. A in red and the L in blue. A-L, all over the wall, and that had not been there before, and what she believes was a response to the challenge by Al. So at this point, if she had money, she said she would have left, but she didn't. She didn't have the resources to move, and so she's just kind of trapped, and she's expressing her concerns and her anxiety to her friend Susan, and the two of them are actually out for a walk in their neighborhood, and she's telling Susan how scared she is, and like, what do I even do? And it just so happens that the landlord, her landlord, Jackie's landlord, was walking down the street at the same time, and they bump into each other. They have some pleasantries, and Susan, just kind of without even asking Jackie's permission, says to the landlord, hey, there's some weird stuff happening in our house. She doesn't want to tell anyone because she thinks people will think she's crazy. And so they go into describing to the landlord all the strange happenings in the house, the lights that they got a picture of, the pebbles, the footsteps, all of it. And the landlord is very religious and is very concerned and says, would you allow me to have 2 priests come to your house and check your house out? And Jackie she is a religious person, but to be honest, was a little skeptical at the idea of introducing religion to what was going on. I think that for her, she just wanted it to go away, but then again, she had nowhere to turn. And so she was like, okay, yeah, we'll have the priest come over and check it out.
Interesting that the landlord does not think she's crazy. The landlord thinks of the idea of doing the priest. He's the one who goes, let me bring 2 priests. It seems like he knew the place had the haunting, and he knew about the stuff, but maybe it stopped, so he thought it was gone, and then he found out, now he has found out it's back, and he's like, shit, now I gotta deal with this again. So maybe that's why, because it's weird that he's just immediately going to the I will help. He's just going with it, because most people would think she's lost her mind.
So the next day, these 2 priests show up to her house, and Jackie's house was very much in disarray. She had 2 young kids, she was working multiple jobs, doing school late, and she had all this weirdness happening in her house. And so when they showed up, her house was a total mess. Her kids are crying. It's a madhouse. And ultimately what happened from this visit is the priest walked around, offered to bless her children. But really they didn't have any sort of like conclusion. And then they leave. And Jackie was like, well,
Febreze small spaces. Press firmly and watch it get to work.
It all starts with one sound of the brave, the new fragrance, Diesel.
That didn't really do anything for me, but okay. The next day, she gets a visit from Child Protective Services. Because
the priest called Child Protective Services because she saw the house in disarray and thought she was crazy and thought she wasn't taking care of her kids. Oh my God. I cannot imagine the thoughts that would be going through my head. One being, I would want to hunt those priests down.
the priest had actually filed a complaint saying that this was all a hallucination by an incompetent mother. This notion that the house was haunted, combined with when they showed up, the house was a total mess. They just said, I don't think the kids are safe. And so Child Protective Services gets called, who basically threatened Jackie to clean it up. Literally clean up your house, but we're going to be checking in on you to make sure you're a fit mother. And so this is a huge blow, because now Jackie is seeing what happens when you bring up that your house is haunted, right? That this is what can happen. And so now she is not prepared to share this with anybody. So over the next couple weeks, Jackie brings her kids into the living room and they all start sleeping in the same room. She's increasingly paranoid. She's overworked and she's not sleeping enough, and she's just kind of really spiraling. And Susan, who's her friend, is really taking a notice, is noticing this. And she also knows the sensitivity of being able to really share this with authority, because she knows about the Child Protective Services call, and she knows that Jackie is really afraid to share the story with anyone. But she goes over and she tells her, you have to call a paranormal investigator. It is probably the only group of people that if you reach out to them with this story, they're not going to treat you like they're crazy. And if nothing else, that is a reason to call them. Even if what they provide is worthless to you, that it doesn't accomplish anything, they're at least a group of people that are going to take you seriously. And so finally, Jackie just says, okay, let's do it. So a couple.
Interesting that the friend again is just this one who has this somewhat voice of reason, saying, do a paranormal investigator. I do find hilarious that her reasoning being they won't think you're crazy. They probably won't. They'll at least give you the benefit of the doubt. But they'll probably want to make sure at least they hope they get something so the time's not wasted. So it's a very, very interesting thing with a paranormal investigator.
A couple days go by and this team shows up at their house, this paranormal investigator team. They have cameras and recorders. I mean, they are in it to try to capture footage. And even though they were ready to listen to Jackie and had obviously taken her seriously enough that they had shown up at her house, they were fairly skeptical. They, by their own admission afterwards, after this whole case had happened, they had said that they had covered over 3,000 cases prior to this and brought their recording equipment and all that, had never once found anything usable that would even hint at the existence of ghosts or the paranormal. And so you could say that they were sympathetic to people that had these experiences, but usually either there was nothing going on or they found a rational explanation for whatever the person was claiming to happen. They didn't have any paranormal footage. So they're interviewing Jackie on camera, the three investigators that are there. They're kind of asking her some questions about what's going on and filming it. And Jackie had actually invited her ex-husband Al to be there with the kids. So he's in the other room with the kids and they're interviewing her, and then the power goes out, which it sounds pretty cliche, and I get that, but the power goes off, and then the power comes back on, and it visibly shakes Jackie. She had been living in this house with all these weird occurrences, and it was like she had this feeling that something bad was going to happen. And so she starts acting really, really scared. And
imagine what they're thinking if because you're in the room and it's you, but in the other room, in the same place, is the ex-husband who didn't believe you and the kids. And now they've seen the lights go out and go back on. And they now will probably go, I would think they'd go check on the mother to see if they're okay, and they'd see her shaking and scared, and then they'd probably end up shaking and scared, and it would, I wonder what's going through their brains at this moment.
and she says, I'm telling you, there's something going on with the attic. And so they kind of stop the interview, and they're like, all right, let's just go have a look at the attic. We'll go look. There won't be anything there. We'll come back down, and we'll chat with her some more. And so one of the three investigators gets a ladder and crawls through this little crawl space into the attic. And so he goes up. And so while he's doing that, Al, who's in the other room with the kids, he's wide awake, laying with his son. He's just like waiting. He's not really expecting anything to happen. And as he's laying there, he could have sworn he heard someone whisper in his ear, "Tell them to get the hell out of here." And he has an interview he does where he describes this moment, and you can tell that Al...
Interesting that they tell him to tell the paranormal investigators to get the hell out of here. It's like the thing was like, you're like the voice of reason here. Get them the hell out.